This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at safernet.com.
Welcome to the Digital Desperados podcast featuring dark tales from the web. Patrick McMurphy back today to tell us another dark tale. He's joined by Brad Hawkins, color commentator on our podcast here, and also the CEO of SaferNet, online at safernet.com. I'm Jim Brangenberg, and I'm serving kind of story guide and mud wrestler along the side. Podcast is brought to you, of course, by SaferNet, because you wouldn't live in a metropolitan area without a home security system. You wouldn't live there without a door. You wouldn't live there without a lock on the door, and you wouldn't live around with your windows open all night long with no screens. So why would you explore the internet on your computer, on your phone, on your tablet without internet protection? That's why you need SaferNet, your ultimate cybersecurity solution. Just so excited about it. My tongue got tied. Defend your workplace with ease. Put in a VPN, internet controls, virus protection, and 84 web filters. Get secured now. Don't worry about all the hackers that we talk about on this show. SaferNet can be the hero in your story. SaferNet.com. All right, Patrick, what dark tale are you heading down the rabbit hole with today?
Today, Jim, I want to talk about Mustafa Al-Bassam, aka T-Flow. He's the teenager who hacked the CIA and became a businessman. And now, just to put it out there, this is not just a normal hacker. This is a guy who changes his mind, gets into business. This guy's an entrepreneur. However, if you previously hacked the CIA, you might be in a bad spot in life.
Hacking the CIA. How can anyone think that's a good idea?
Teenagers, apparently.
So what you're saying is he actually may know who shot JFK. That's what you're saying.
Indeed. So Mustafa is born in January 1995 in Baghdad, in Iraq. When he's just 5 years old, him and his family moved to London in the UK. Mustafa is a very, very, very smart kid with an interest in hacking. 9 years old, he commits his first hack, something I find very entertaining. So he's at school and he's given, math homework, and he goes home to do his homework. They're told not to use a calculator. He's like, I'm just going to use an online calculator. It's fine. But he realized when he's adding up all these numbers that if he just puts any input into the calculator, it could end up giving him access to the whole back end of the website. And so he learned very, very, very early that very simple programming mistakes could make a lot of damage and allow a hacker to get in there. And that's one of his quotes. That's how we saw it from the get-go, that people had bad security. And so it starts to escalate quickly from here. He's a kid, he returns to school and he hacks his school's website. He finds out all his teachers' salaries, his classmates' grades. He spreads all this information around. Through online hacktivism forums, he eventually finds himself becoming a member of the infamous international movement Anonymous. So Anonymous, they were known for their cyber attacks against things like governments, different agencies, corporations. One of Mustafa's first attacks alongside Anonymous was to hack the Prime Minister of Tunisia. And this is a time when Tunisia and Egypt were in the middle of a revolution. And what they did, they just replaced the front page of the Prime Minister's website with a message to support the revolution that was going on. So he's a teenager by now, but you can see he's anti-authority entirely. That's his whole outlook.
He's quite malicious with his hacking, yes.
But he specifically, he does not like controlling governments or corporate surveillance. It just gets to him. And so Mustafa, the way he explains the aim of Anonymous, it wasn't to show that they were master hackers, but that the companies that they were hacking just had very, very poor security. And a great early on instance of this was him and some other members found they were actually a tech security company. They were called HB Gary Federal. And so they claimed that they had information about the identity of Anonymous's leaders, but they did not. So Mustafa and his friends, they found out that the CEO was using the same password for his email account, his PayPal account, his World of Warcraft account, and pretty much every single other account. So they got access to his entire online life. And again, this guy is head of a security company.
Patrick, that is so common, though. I mean, you think about most employees don't realize how vulnerable their businesses that they work in really are. Some of them are super strong. Don't get me wrong, but most small businesses, they've got an unsophisticated guy taking care of the IT, and he will run everything as simple as he can because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't know what's going on. And so he wants to make sure that when he's managing his network, he can do it as simple as he can. So he does everything with the same passwords, and it puts all the employees vulnerable in that business. And if you're an employee in a business, you need to talk to your boss about getting SaferNet. That's just the end result.
Absolutely. And so, and to quote Mustafa on this, looking at the HB Gary hack, he said, when we hacked HB Gary's emails, it was exposed that they were up to a lot of no good. One of the things that they were trying to do was blackmail American journalists that supported WikiLeaks. That's when I realized that information can give people a lot of power, or it can change the world. And so the CEO at the time, Aaron Barr, ended up resigning after 3 weeks because of this huge scandal.
So it turns out these hacker guys really were more like Robin Hood. Steal from the rich, give to the poor. They found out that HB Gary Federals was really up to something naughty. Wow. Yeah. I mean, Brad, it's amazing to me. I mean, obviously there's lots of people that just need to get a job, but instead they decide to be a hacker. There's a lot of, you guys must be chasing these kind of guys all the time to upgrade SaferNet on the roll all the time, because there's always something new to be fighting, isn't there?
We just spent an entire year upgrading our entire system to keep up with these people. I mean, truthfully, we have rebuilt everything to brand new standards because things are changing in the world of hacking all the time. These 17-year-old kids turn to be 27 and they're geniuses, and we have to be able to outsmart them. And that's what this is about, is making sure that we're keeping every single person that puts SaferNet on their endpoint devices safe.
That's why you do SaferNet on your side. It's like wearing a coat of armor and chainmail everywhere you go, all over all your devices. The really good armor and chainmail, by the way. SaferNet.com. That's SaferNet.com. All right. Now, Mustafa at this time, Patrick, is how old?
He's 15. He's 15. And so eventually...
Can you imagine being this kid's parents? I just can't even imagine. That would be exhausting. I'm sorry. I just had to throw a little color in for all those parents that are taking care of genius little 15-year-olds.
So eventually Mustafa turns the very ripe old age of 16, and he becomes a founding member of LulzSec. And so these people are a sister organization to Anonymous. And what LulzSec were is that they were this black hat hacking group. They had a lot of notoriety back in 2011, very high profile cyber attacks. But to kind of understand them, you need to kind of look back at what internet humor was around this time, because they had they had a dual focus basically. They were trying to expose security flaws, but they wanted to create chaos just for the sake of amusement. This was their whole thing. Because they were teenagers. These were 15, 16-year-olds. I mean, what kind of sense of humor are they going to have? A teenage sense of humor, right? Now, in previous episodes, we actually have touched upon some of their members, because after LulzSec, they went on to other very, very, very criminal careers. But Just look back at some of their hacks. So, for example, June 2011 was Sony Pictures. They had breached Sony Pictures, gained access to passwords, email addresses of millions of users, basically claimed that they had zero security at all, so they could just walk in. PBS was one in May. It's kind of funny why they hate PBS was because PBS aired a documentary on why hackers are bad people and LulzSec did not like them. So they took over PBS's website and posted a story that the rapper Tupac Shakur was still alive. And people bought it because PBS said it, right? But don't believe everything you read in the news. Cause
certainly not from PBS, don't believe it.
Another big one came in June, the CIA. So Now, it was more symbolic more than anything, but they took down the CIA's public website, and it really grinded people's gears, as you can imagine, because it's the CIA, but they took off the website completely. The next, following that immediately, was the FBI's InfraGard, and so it's an FBI network, and so they stole and leaked sensitive data, including passwords, personal information of users. During this time, there was a bunch of other hacks. There was a lot of gaming companies like Bethesda, Nintendo, other government entities as well. But this was short-lived because they said it was going to be 50 days of attacks, and that's what it was. Their entertainment was finished. Now, again, they are teenagers. No one told them at this point, okay, you can have 50 days at last, but the law enforcement might actually come after you afterwards. And so immediately they did after the 50 days. And so on the 20th of July, just really after these 50 days, Mustafa is arrested in London by the London Met. He's charged with computer misuse. Effectively, because he had taken part in all these previous hacks. At the time of arrest, due to legal reasons, his name, it wasn't disclosed for nearly 2 years afterwards. He pleaded guilty. He got 20-month suspended sentence, ordered to complete 320 hours of community service work, and a 2-year internet ban. So, obviously Mustafa is shaken at being caught. He's still a kid. He's 16. But he's still really invested in this idea that you can shine the light on companies and organizations that had little users, and they were betraying their users because their security was awful. And so now I'm going to paraphrase him quite a bit here, but regarding how all these entities operate, he said that there is not a lack of technology or knowledge on how to use cybersecurity tools. There's just a lack of motivation to actually deploy it. And so he thinks that the key problem is that, the business leaders who make the decisions, they don't see security as a key value proposition in their business model. It's just an overhead. And so, for example, Sony, before their big hack, just before that, they fired their entire security team, and they got hacked 30 times by 30 different agencies. So it was disaster. And so that's what he says about LulzSec. He said that's what LulzSec did. He made security a PR disaster. And to this day, he is completely right on that.
Well, you certainly don't want to publicize the fact that you got rid of your entire security team. That's only going to go bad for you.
What's amazing, though, nowhere have you said so far that they've made any money doing any of this. This is just for kicks and giggles and to, expose naughty people.
Kicks, that's all it was,
Wow.
Well, Mustafa wants to tackle this issue the straightest way possible. He wants to be on the side of the law. So he goes ahead and he gets an undergrad in computer science from King's College in London and a PhD from the same university. A very interesting note on his PhD, because this is still in very active use today, is that he developed a tool for WikiLeaks called Transparency Toolkit. And so what this toolkit is, it's a very, very specific type of virus scanner. It still gets updates. It's used to find out if you have government malware or spyware on your device. So very controversial by the wrong people, but but after his PhD, what he did, he found a blockchain company called Chainspace. And now I'm not going to go mad here into blockchain and all this, but the problem at the time, and it kind of still is a problem, is that when you look at, these platforms like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they can be, when they're scaled up to large numbers, they can be quite slow, basically. It's just the system is overloaded. And Chainspace's whole aim was to fix this problem. It was extremely popular. And in 2019, Chainspace was brought out by Facebook for their Libra project, which at the time was going to be a cryptocurrency system for inside Facebook.
I remember that whole deal. And the whole crypto thing, everybody's attacking it. All the governments are attacking it because it's a threat, because they can't control crypto. I love this. But again, we're still not talking anywhere where Mustafa's making lots of money here. I'm just trying to figure out, I just don't know if I'd put my life in risk of going to prison just to have some fun. I mean, we threw a few eggs when I was in high school. Well, I'm not gonna tell anybody who that was or whatever. Snowballs at cars, maybe. I don't know. We could have if we wanted to, but maybe a little toilet paper around trees or around somebody's house. But but that was kind of harmless fun. They're talking about these are some pretty serious things. Criminals like Mustafa are trying to get into your computer all the time. They're working with companies. This is something that's out there all over the place. It's time to just stop being like Sony, thinking, well, we're fine. It's just an extra overhead thing. We don't need it. You need it. Believe me, you need it. It's 2024. It's not 2011. It's 2024. It's 13 years. They got more sophisticated stuff today than the government had in 2011. Cybersecurity is made simple by having SaferNet on your side. Internet controls, VPN, web filters, and virus protection. Secure your company today. SaferNet.com. That's SaferNet.com. Just make sure when you do that, you tell them, you heard it on the Digital Desperados podcast. All right. What about Mufasa? I mean, not Mufasa. Mustafa. What? How's this end? How's this story come to an end?
So how it comes to an end with Mustafa is that he's fairly critical at this point of his old technology that was being used by Facebook, because at the time Facebook had quite a history of surveillance. Then I'm thinking like, well, why do you sell it then? But in his own words, he said, the road to dystopia is paved with good intentions, and I'm concerned about Libra's model for decentralization. Now, as it happened, just as Jim mentioned, Libra became under so much pressure from not only the US legislators, but also the EU's. And so Facebook just said, we're canning it. So it was gone. So it's a lot of money spent on nothing, which was unfortunate. But, while Mustafa was busy with blockchain businesses, he also volunteered for something called Privacy International. These are a charity group. They try uncover government surveillance. He's still working for them. Now, something interesting while working initially for them, he found that he was doing research on computer destruction techniques that the British intelligence used. And they found out that computers at the Guardian's London headquarters were being destroyed if they had any classified documents that were provided by the whistleblower Edward Snowden. So it was a huge scandal on the British intelligence at the time. He also found multiple instances of the British government using sock puppet Twitter accounts to act as honeypots during times of things like social upheaval. And
just stop there. What? I know what a sock puppet is. Okay, a sock puppet Twitter account to act as a honeypot. Yeah. That's like saying, I don't know. That's really what that's saying. I have no idea. What do you mean?
I mean, they're very common. They're all over Twitter even still. I know the feds kind of use them, a lot of them, but they're kind of, for example, you might see a Twitter page goes up and it's like, it will say, person who enjoys firearms, and they'll be like, oh, post us your firearm collection, and then people will all post, but it's actually federal agents just collecting, okay, this person owns all these guns, is he registered for these? There's sock puppet accounts. It's a lot of Twitters like that, because people give away their information for free online, but they're actually a lot of time are just giving it to the government who are surveillance in them.
So fake accounts trying to drive a certain agenda.
Yes.
Whatever that would be. Yeah.
Now in 2019, he finds a company, it's still going. This is main company, Celestia. I won't get into everything about Celestia, but it's basically to make more scalable and efficient blockchain infrastructure. And what the aim of this is that they want to give organization, projects, communities, that if they want to launch their own blockchain, for financial applications, decentralization apps, anything like that. So just to help communities kind of in need. And so, I mean, you can see his streak. He's very anti-authority his whole life. And kind of between his work with Privacy International and Celestia, Mustafa, he's still going to a lot of public speaking about privacy, security, digital rights, talk about ethical implications of technology, the importance of security, not only against, companies, or hackers, but also against your own government. And he was just given Forbes 30 under 30 recently, because he was basically pointing out how people's governments are spying on them. So his story is an interesting one. I mean, Mustafa Al-Bassam, he journeys from this teenage hacker just causing chaos, but now he's this respected figure, 30 under 30, telling, just watch for your security out there, watch your government, because they're watching you.
Wow. story after story of, people that have incredible intelligence, and they use it to break into computers. I mean, really, that's what it is. That's what's going on. And the truth, and they do it for all kinds of reasons. One, to manipulate their agenda. Two, to steal. Three, to destroy, take out vengeance and anger, whatever it might be. But any of that, it's so sad, because SaferNet can help stop the majority of all of that activity. And truthfully, SaferNet can't stop it all, because there's new things popping up every single day. But we stay on top of it, and we do our very best to be able to make sure that whatever it is that's new is going to be able to be stopped or at least paused for a period of time, to be able to make it so that you can save your business or save your family or whatever it is. So critical, so critical.
SaferNet.com. It's time to get signed up. Mustafa ended up being a good guy, but imagine if he had taken that to a whole level, and imagine if he was still really angry at all these governments surveilling everybody, what he would do today if he wasn't on the good side today. Thanks to SaferNet for bringing us this great story today, and to Patrick McMurphy for all his incredible research. And for your own security, for those you work with and those you love, get SaferNet on your computer, your device, your handheld device, everything. Get it on there today. Until the next time, till the next episode, click only on the attachments and the links you trust from those you trust, and delete the rest, or you may become the next victim of a digital desperado.
This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at SaferNet.com. Business owners, listen up. Criminals and search engines do not need to know everything you do on the internet. SaferNet VPN ensures your company's safety with its powerful cybersecurity defenses. Explore the Control Center dashboard for seamless management. Shield your workforce from inappropriate web content using 84 internet filters. Trust SaferNet VPN, your path to worry-free online operations. Get secured now. Sign up at SaferNet.com. That's SaferNet.com.